Hey, when was the last time you saw NASA or the FAA fail in a research program or some experimental prototype or a demonstration? Yeah, me neither. Let's talk about it. Hey, we made it to February. In 21, that's a pretty good thing so far. We made it a whole month. We're still populating the planet. This is good. Hey, great news. Pete Buttigieg has been confirmed as the Secretary of Transportation. Hey, everybody's been pushing that we need somebody in that chair to move forward as part of the economic recovery, as part of an infrastructure package. And so this quick confirmation, is good. It's good for the FAA because it allows the FAA to avoid being paralyzed by lack of policy and uncertainty. And the FAA has long invested in NextGen, and with an infrastructure package, it's time to move to those basic infrastructure investments like radars and facilities and nav aids and just the hardcore stuff that we kind of take for granted. And maybe it's a part of it. I keep talking about that it's got to have a parallel path because the FAA does get a lot of money for some of this stuff, so unlikely it's going to be in a package, but it certainly does open the door for a little loosening of other packages like AIP and things like that can handle these kinds of infrastructure plays. But the FAA is going to look for guidance from the administration on stuff like that. And further guidance will come along in the FAA's role in environmental issues. FAA has been an incredibly strong regulator for years on the environment. Part of NextGen was to reduce emissions and precision arrivals, reduce noise over people, and has contained the footprint of particulates. It's pretty awesome. But what comes next? How do you become stronger than we are today? Well, hey, operations doesn't have any metrics or procedures other than the Keep 'em High program and other than following noise footprint, which I seem to be able to deviate from at a moment's notice. So hey, they could be measured, and maybe we could find other ways to handle environmental impacts through the use of different kinds of operations. This is an area where deep analytics and even artificial intelligence, could be part of the next generation of traffic flow programs. And as long as there's a flow management, data systems, procurement coming, why isn't it part of it? Elon Musk says next time they're going to use the pull-up method not to crash. Hey, in the last 2 months, SpaceX has had 2 shiny stainless steel prototypes of its Starship that's meant to carry, at some point, 100 passengers to Mars. Both have had the same fate, ending in massive fireballs. But they don't use that term. They use rapid, unscheduled disassembly. Well, it certainly was. It doesn't provide the color of a crash and explosion and flames going everywhere, but hey, it is an accurate description. But it's not an easy task. We know it's not an easy task, but Elon Musk makes light of these kinds of things. But hey, here's what I get from all this. SpaceX has tried and failed, and we have watched it with great emotion and great elation when they finally get it right, as we have seen in the Dragon program. And they work for big things, they fail big, and in the end we get really, really big results for our country and for as a people. And when was the last time we saw NASA or the FAA fail at anything? They have a giant next-gen research program. Everything works all the time. NASA, they have a giant ecosystem for advanced air mobility. Everything works all the time. They have these giant prototype demonstrations with lots of drones and lots of urban air mobility vehicles. Works every time. I don't know if we're learning anything or if we're just avoiding learning the hard stuff, but I think we need to take a page out of Elon's playbook. We need to play big, we need to fail big, and then we need to win big. Hey, shameless plug here. I want to congratulate Maureen for being selected on the Board of Governors for the Aerospace Industry Association. It's an incredible opportunity. It is a super organization, and they provide a lot of influence in the industry, and to be part of that is pretty fantastic. So congratulations. Hey, last time I talked about the president's executive order on signing masks, and hey, okay, got the mask, but there isn't anybody to enforce it exactly. So now there is. The executive order trickles down, gets into TSA. TSA can actually enforce it. So their airport directors will meet with airport operators to meet a mask compliance directive. And TSA won't screen any individuals that aren't wearing a mask unless they have a specific exemption. And I kind of think all this is a great idea, but I'm not. I don't want to be naive. There's going to be hiccups, right? I mean, look at when you go to the grocery store. People can't figure out how to wear them. They wear them all over the place. The governor of New York called it a chin mask. I mean, all those things are going to have to get sorted out at the airport, because you know what's going to happen. And it'll just be interesting to watch. I'm going to wait a while before I head to the airport. More airplanes getting in the certification queue, and then the latest one is Velocopter. They went public with its plans to introduce an urban air mobility taxi operation with an electronic vertically takeoff and landing vehicle in the U.S. The FAA has approved their certification, which will be the hybrid model, the one that EASA is going to use. The EASA is the European Safety Organization. They'll use an alternative basis for certification, which isn't yet final. So they got approved on a process that they don't know what exactly the rules are. That's where the business model usually falls apart. The last time we saw this is when Leonardo bought the Bell 609 plans and then decided to build the tilt rotor. It looks very much like a V-22, cooler looking, and of course it has an Italian flair and colors. Tilt rotor aircraft, it's called the Leonardo AEW, Augusta Westland 609. It's taken 15 years and it isn't quite finished yet in the same process, because it makes up the rules as it goes along. The real deal is certification is a process that validates the safety configuration of what you're trying to build. And for airplanes, it's always good to have a known path, because at some point when you have an unknown path, miracles don't usually happen in certification. So, but Velocopter is looking to provide air taxi services in places like New York, the Bay Area, Washington, D.C., and again, that's where I think that business model falls apart. It's kind of like, who's advising these people? It's not aviation management, I'll tell you that. Because when you talk about Washington, D.C., do they know you can't fly here because of security reasons? And just because you're electric really isn't a thing? You don't get to fly in the Washington, D.C. area. It's just the rules. So, hey, that's the way it goes. Bay Area, they kind of hate drones in general, and they hate things flying overhead in general. Crazy area. So, you want to fly there? Pick a better spot. Hey, New York, same set of issues. There's also a lot of big airports flowing a lot of other airplanes. They're not going to be too happy with that either. But it is possible to get in and around a lot easier. Blade has made an impact in New York, flying in and out of Westchester, flying out to the Hamptons and back. Kind of a rich man's game, but we'll see how that works out. Anyway, hey, this past week, Aviation Week has held webinars with members of Congress about discussing the importance of urban air mobility and the importance of U.S. leadership, and it's a growing market and all the cool things about what upstarts all want to hear. And there are airplanes like Velocopter and Joby and others that are in the queue for certification. But Europe always takes a slightly different path. Not sure it's going to do anything, but they put money where their mouth is. 9 UK organizations announced the Airspace of the Future Consortium. Altitude Angel, which is backed by Frequentis, Thales, Cranfield Airport, Inmarsat, Blue Bear, Satellite Catapult, a few others. This consortium is going to build the airspace for freight carrying drones, which is kind of an interesting market segment, other urban air mobility vehicles, and hybrid electric, to make sure that they integrate seamlessly into the UK transport ecosystem. That's moving products around the UK. Very cool, because there's 125 million pounds/euros, not dollars, going into the coffer to get this thing off the ground. And it's to work through mobility and reduce road congestion. And most importantly, one of their goals is to scale up UK manufacturing opportunities. That is where the industrial base discussion has to start. In the future, we're going to talk about industrial base implications. The infrastructure is a play to make sure that we have an industrial base here. Think about it. Ford reduced the production of their F-150 pickup truck because they can't get diodes. Are you kidding me? They can't get diodes. We need to have an industrial base discussion, and it better be darn soon. Hey, ever hear of Fat Shark? No, I'm not making comments about overfeeding sharks or anything like that. It's a first-person view system used in the drone racing league. It is the go-to. Put those little funky goggles on and you fly like you can see the drone, like you are the drone. Hey, Fat Shark Technology is partnered up with Skypersonic. That's a tough one to say. Skypersonic, which they make a long-distance drone. And so they're using their system, a big drone, and Skypersonic uses a similar technology that they use for flying the Global Hawk and the Reapers in the battle space. Halfway around the world, they connect a peer-to-peer connection from the operator to the drone, and they flew this drone from Orlando in Detroit airspace. And the data speed went through Italy to get there. So go through the servers in Italy to fly the drone, a few thousand miles away. This is a significant breakthrough on beyond visual line of sight. And it is trickled down from DoD, who uses some really cool technology to make sure they don't have lost link. But as long as you have those procedures about what the airplane does with lost link, then we should be safe. This is where the growth of that drone market can really take place. This is a breakthrough. Everybody stay safe. We'll talk to you next week.